Welcome to U.S. Defense Line Channel. Airstrikes have been launched on critical Russian military points on Ukrainian territory. Entry of Crimea into the range of HIMARS mobilized the Russian troops. Hundreds of Russian soldiers on critical fronts have been neutralized. France announced the news of critical aid to Ukraine. Violence of the war is increasing day by day. Operations have been accelerated in Donbass, one of Russia's greatest aims in the war. According to breaking news, violent clashes continue on the Eastern Front. After the clashes on land, clashes started in the skies of Donbass. According to the statements, unmanned aerial vehicles of Ukraine and Russia carried out an air war in the skies of Donbass. Aircraft of the two armies met, probably by chance, over the Donbass. Immediately after the match, a clash began in the air. Video footage of a Ukrainian drone shows the meeting of these two drones in the sky of Donbass. It is known that these two drones are also used for reconnaissance and artillery strikes. According to experts, after this encounter, the Russian unmanned aerial vehicle tried to respond, but the Russian side was not successful in carrying out an attack due to various differences between the aircraft, such as size and weight. As it is known, the air units of Ukraine, as well as the ground units, are making a very successful progress. Moreover, thanks to the critical military support from the countries and various air defense systems, more are added to their success. Using these equipment and systems very effectively, Ukrainian troops prove their military capabilities to the whole world. On the contrary, Russia suffers greater losses due to its inadequacies at critical moments. At the same time, the ammunition and military equipment of Russia, which has been attacking many times in this war that has been going on for months, is gradually decreasing. This time, more than 300 Russian soldiers were neutralized by Ukrainian troops in one day. As a result of the accurate moves, 10 Russian unmanned aerial vehicles and 51 more Russian cruise missiles were destroyed. General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine announced the size of Russia's losses in the war. Moscow has lost nearly 86,000 soldiers so far. It has also been reported that so far, Russia has lost up to 2,900 tanks and more than 5,840 armored combat vehicles. These losses, which have reached serious figures, now seriously reduce the offensive operation power that the Russian soldiers can carry out in the air and on the ground. It is not possible for the Russian forces, whose firepower has decreased, to achieve success in critical areas. In fact, since there is no success in the attacks, it is forced to switch to defense. It was also reported that the regions where the Russian troops suffered the most casualties were Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Lyman regions. These regions, located on the Donbass front, have a great strategic importance for both sides. There has been a mutual struggle between the two armies for these regions for months. Even though Russia has attempted to attack these regions for a long time, it has not been able to achieve the desired success in these critical regions. In fact, his efforts are completely in vain, as he loses more and more each day. At the same time, Russian forces are making efforts to improve the fortification of their positions on critical fronts and the logistical support of their advanced units. After the attack power was reduced and important areas were lost, the Russian troops began to establish defensive lines in critical areas. Efforts are also being made to deploy in new areas. This time, Crimea was included in the measures taken by the worried Russian troops as the regional losses increased. According to breaking news, Russian troops on the territory of Crimea actively took action in the region, starting work on the manufacture of reinforced concrete structures. It was claimed that the created products were also exported to the Armyansk region. Thanks to the Ukrainian army's retake of the Kherson region on the southern front in recent weeks, the Russian military points in the Crimea are now within the range of HIMARS. After these developments, explosion sounds were reported one after another from the important points of the Russian soldiers. This triggered Moscow. Air defense systems have been activated in the region. However, due to the inadequacy of these, various measures and defense lines are being tried to be created for the borders. This shows that Moscow's concerns about Crimea have increased considerably. Moreover, even if various measures are taken in many regions, these measures are insufficient and not enough to stop the Ukrainian troops. As it is known, various missile systems such as HIMARS provide great advantages for Ukraine. Missile systems like this HIMARS have been successfully used by troops on the fronts since they were sent to Ukraine. In particular, such high-mobility rocket systems from the United States are of great benefit in hitting critical Russian positions on the fronts. Moreover, they are very difficult to destroy due to their various properties. Since the Russian troops cannot destroy these equipment, they cannot prevent the attacks, and it becomes inevitable to take damage with the moves. This situation has a great impact in favor of Ukraine in the course of the war. Previously, such missile systems were procured from many countries. This time, France announced that it provided the Mlrz system, which is stated to be similar to the HIMARS missile systems. According to the statements, France has transferred to Ukraine Tulru launchers, each capable of simultaneously hitting 12 guided missiles, similar to the HIMARS and Mlrz multiple rocket launcher systems currently. Despite having fewer launchers, it is stated that these systems can pose a very serious threat to Russian troops. One of the reasons for this is that the Ukrainian army can use all kinds of equipment supplied from the countries in a very capable and efficient way. As long as such systems are sent to Ukraine, a clearly visible Ukrainian army will have the upper hand. This is the opposite for Russia. Russia, whose existing resources are gradually decreasing and cannot provide new ones due to various reasons, such as Western sanctions, is starting to experience serious military resource problems on the fronts. Moreover, while the support for Kiev increased, the increase in sanctions against Moscow began to affect the course of the war to a large extent. At the same time, the biggest reason for such situations is that Russia does not have a good deal with after the war. It is thought that after this help from France, disagreements between Moscow and Paris may also arise. As it is known, as the sanctions against Russia increase, various decisions are heard from Moscow as if to respond. We saw the biggest example of this in Moscow's decision to stop the flow of gas and oil to various European countries after the European Union and many countries decided to impose sanctions on Russia. In fact, a few countries withdrew from the sanctions after this decision of Russia or began to not show their side about the war. This shows that countries are worried about the arrival of the winter season. However, if the sanctions continue to increase, there will be no more threats on the Russian side. Moreover, these situations will affect the economy of their own country the most. If Moscow, which is currently dealing with many military and economic problems, encounters bigger problems, the confusion in the country and in the political field may increase even more. In the event that these conflicts break out, the lack of motivation in all officials, including the soldiers on the fronts, will increase. It was seen before that the authorities and commanders abandoned the war due to the emergence of serious problems and wrong decisions. Many officials even left the country. For these reasons, there is no longer any margin of error for Moscow. All kinds of steps to be taken by both countries and all kinds of support from other countries regarding the war will become much more critical. In these days when the violence of the war has increased considerably, every move must be taken in line with more strategic goals. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.